Okay, hello and welcome to our Intro to SolidWorks tutorial series. This very first video is going to be all about navigation and the basics of the interface of SolidWorks. So if you're brand new to the program, this is a great place to start because we're going to be starting from absolute scratch as if you've never used the program before. First thing you want to do when you open up SolidWorks is go to File and go to New, and we're going to create a new document. We find out that SolidWorks can create three different types of documents: a part file, an assembly file, and a drawing file. Now for the first part of our class here, we're just going to be making part files, and then later on, once we get a little bit more advanced, we'll do some assemblies, and then later we'll make some drawing files as well. So just select part and hit OK. And now we've opened up our part file. This is the interface of SolidWorks. Welcome. The first thing we notice is this giant kind of expanse of white space. This is the display area, and it's hard to tell when the program first opens, but this is actually 3D space. One of the reasons why it's hard to tell is because the planes that you'll be working on in the program are hidden, and this is just a default thing with SolidWorks. So the very first thing we're going to do before we start talking about anything is let's just show each one of our planes over here. So I'll just select one of them, and I'll just hold down Shift, and I'll select all three, and I'll do a right click. There's a little icon over here that looks like a pair of glasses called Show. Just hit Show, and then we can start to see the 3D space in a little bit more detail, and it's makes a little bit more sense right off the bat. Okay, talking about interface, up here at the top, this thing's called your Command Manager, and the Command Manager is made up of a series of tabs. Within each one of these tabs is a different set of tools that you're going to use to create your parts. And these tabs are totally editable. You can add or remove whatever tabs you want to your Command Manager just by doing a right click on any one of the tabs. And you see that SolidWorks has put little check marks to the ones that are displayed. So say if you wanted to add a couple extra tabs to your Command Manager, like you could add one for mold tools if you want, just click on that and it will add it right to your Command Manager. Alternatively, you can delete that pretty easily. Do another right click and just uncheck it, and it goes right away. So if you could just try to customize your Command Manager to show these tabs that I have shown here. It's Features, Sketch, Surfaces, Direct Editing, Evaluate, and Render Tools. Now for the first part of our class, we're just going to be kind of going over the Features and Sketch tab. Later on, when we get more advanced, we're going to talk a little bit about surfaces. Direct editing also has to do with surfaces. Evaluate is a good tab to have open, and then Render Tools for when we close it out at the end of the semester. But anyway, so go ahead and get yourself set up there. Also, another thing to mention about the Command Manager is that it's adjustable. You can grab it over here on this blank area here and just drag it, and it will pop out into its own little fly out menu. And sometimes for new users that can happen by accident and you freak out a little bit. So if it does fly out into its own menu, that's fine. That's, for advanced users who really want to customize the interface of SolidWorks, sometimes you can go ahead and you can dock it over here on the left side, or you can dock it on the right side. But for our purposes, since we're just brand new to the program, let's just keep it up here at the top. So just grab it by its top bar and just slide it back up there, and it'll snap back into place. The other thing about interface is this thing over here on the left. This is the design tree, and this is unique to SolidWorks. A little sneak preview. What we'll be doing in this program is creating 2D sketches, and then we're going to apply 3D features to those sketches to create 3D parts. Now, as we make sketches and add features, SolidWorks keeps a record of the sketches we make and the features we add, and it stacks up this record of those things over here in the design tree. And right now, our design tree is empty because we haven't built anything. It's just showing us the planes that we've got to work on in their origin, which is where all of the planes meet. It also shows us the name of our part file. So just understand that that's what's going to happen over here is this is where SolidWorks is gonna keep all the stuff we make. So the design tree is your friend. This is where you'll turn to get to drill down into your parts and features and to edit your part and create the designs that you want to create. There's a couple other tabs over here on the left, like the Property Manager and other things like the Display Manager. And SolidWorks does a pretty good job of flipping back and forth between these tabs on its own, so you don't have to. More advanced users, we can play around with these a little bit as we move forward, but for now, let's just leave those alone, and I'll show you as we start to build stuff what these other tabs are for. Also, just continuing on about interface, there's these icons that are up here at the top of your display area. This is called the heads up display, and there are some really important things in the heads up display, so please make a note. Some of the fun ones are things like section view, which we can use to cut our model in half and take a look at our wall thicknesses, and we can check to see if our model is actually solid or if it's hollow. We've got a view orientation button, and we've got a display style button, all things that we're going to be going over as we start to actually build some parts. And then over here on the right, this is your SolidWorks resources panel. You've got SolidWorks resources like all of the stock tutorials that SolidWorks comes with out of the box. You've got things like your design library over here where you can pick out pre-made objects like nuts and bolts that are all industry standard sized, and you can drag them from the design library into your part as needed if your client so requires. And there's a couple other goodies in here. There's an appearances panel similar to over here on the left, where you can go to apply different colors and shaders to your object. All things we'll be getting to when we talk about rendering later on. But for now, that's it. So it's the command manager up at the top. Over here on the left is the design tree. You got your heads up display and your resources area over here. Display areas in the center. So let's talk about this display area, this 3D space here, and let's talk about how we can move around in this space here. So SolidWorks makes it super easy to move around in 3D space. It's just the middle mouse button. So click your middle mouse button and give it a spin, and you can see that you can spin your parts any which way you want, up, down, right, left, all around in a circle. You can look at your model from any direction you want, just using the middle mouse button. So if you're used to other programs that require a lot of keyboard shortcuts and really bring in all the mouse buttons, well, SolidWorks is a little bit easier than that. So middle mouse button will spin you all around just like that. Okay. Now, one of the easiest ways to move around in SolidWorks is probably going to be your right mouse button. If you hold down your right mouse button and just do a half of a drag, you get this orientation wheel. And what this allows is it allows you to make a little quick flick of the wrist to get to any view you want of your model. So if I go up and to the right, it'll bring me back to the stock perspective, the stock, isometric perspective. You could also do a right mouse click and go straight up to look at your top view, straight down to go to your bottom view. You get it. Do a right mouse click to the right and you'll go to the right plane. See, it'll bring you around to any selection, to any orientation that you want. So that's just probably the quickest way to get around. Other ways to get around are you could go up here to your heads up display and you can go to the view orientation button. And if we click on that, we'll see something interesting. This giant orientation cube. What this cube does is you can select any one of these faces of the cube to go and point your camera in that direction. So if we go there to the front plane, we can go back up to the heads up display if we want to look at the top view right there like that. View orientation, we'll do the right view. You see how it goes, okay? But that's a lot of clicking. You got to go up here to your heads up display, click that, then go to the cube, click that. You know, using the right mouse button and flicking your wrist one way or the other is going to probably be the easiest way for you to get around. And I'm going to be doing that a lot in class as well, so I want you guys to kind of take note that that's what's happening when you see me spinning the model around really quick. Alternatively, you can also hit the space bar, and if you hit the space bar, you get that same orientation cube. So that's another way to get around. So space bar is the biggest key on the keyboard. It shouldn't be hard to find, but still it's an extra click, and some CAD guys will tell you that even that one extra click of the space bar is too much. So why wouldn't you just use your right mouse button to just flick yourself around just like that? So so let's try to memorize that move right there. Something as far as navigation to talk about as well is called normal to. And normal to is where you look at something straight on. So let's look at this front plane right here. Like I said before, what we're going to be doing is creating 2D sketches and then turning them into 3D objects with features. Every sketch that you make in SolidWorks, you want to do it on a plane. And so let's say we wanted to make a sketch on this front plane and then maybe extrude back out into space. Well, in order to make a drawing on that plane, we wouldn't want to draw on it when it's skewed out in perspective like this. We'd want to look straight onto it. We'd want to look normal to. The same way as if it was a piece of paper floating in the sky. You don't want to draw on it when it's curved way out into space. You want to look at it straight on the way you look at a piece of paper when it's on your desk. So there's a bunch of different ways to get normal to a plane or an object. One way would be to click directly on it with your right mouse button and go here to your normal to icon. So I'll just go ahead and do that right now, and you see it spins it right up to my face so I can get ready to draw on it. Okay. The other way to do it for this front plane would be to go to the front plane in the design tree over here and do a right click and go normal to, and it'll spin us right there. Alternatively, we can go spacebar, and you'll see here in this orientation dialog box that there's the normal to button again. And this time we see that there's actually a hotkey for normal to, which is Control 8. So if I just go here, I'll click on my front plane and hit Control 8, and it spins us up normal to. But looking at things normal to is very important in SolidWorks, so getting used to that is something you're going to definitely want to do. And as we start to build stuff, you'll start to see how important it really is. Now, talking just about the keyboard, a little bit more about navigation. If you hold down the Shift key and hit your middle mouse button, you can zoom out and in on your models. And if you hold the Control key down and then the middle mouse button, you can move your object from the right to the left, to up and down, all around. Okay? And sometimes when you're zooming in and out on your model, you have this opportunity to zoom so far out that your model actually disappears. And this can scare new users a lot. Sometimes you don't even know where your piece is. Oh my gosh, I've lost it. Accidentally hit Control and it just goes away. Who knows? But if you use the heads up display buttons, you can get back to your model really quick. This first button here is called Zoom to Fit, and it has a hotkey in parentheses there, which is F. Just hit Zoom to Fit. It'll grab your model from wherever it is in space and pull it right back up to your face, okay? And so that's another way to keep yourself from getting lost, because that can sometimes happen when you're just getting used to flying around in 3D space here, okay? So pretty easy stuff in this first video. The next one, we're going to start creating some sketches and applying some 3D features to the sketches, and we'll start to get a little bit more in depth with the program. So thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.